Hey everybody. Thank you for being patient while I put this together for you. I've been working a lot on drawing and painting classes because I needed to put together some materials for them to pick up, and it just took up a lot of time getting that ready. So I apologize. I feel like this is late for you. But for this week, I want to talk through these 4 points. I'm going to just show you the updated syllabus briefly, show you how our course looks a little bit different on Schoology, talk about Flickr links, and then the long exposure assignment for this week. So let's go through those steps quickly. I know that you are probably watching so many videos right now, and I don't need to add to that. But here is the updated syllabus. You can look at it. It's on Schoology in the syllabus folder. Uh, you just need to note that the grading scale has changed now that we're in this remote learning situation for the long haul. This is the grading scale that Mr. Gilchrist put out. So you can see that it's more generous to allow for a little bit more room for you guys as you're trying to, navigate learning online, just like we're navigating teaching online. The themes, we are still kind of making sure we get all of these foundation things nailed down. I just think that's really, really important. And so you can see that we're extending theme 1 through April 24th, and then I will abbreviate the rest of the themes down to just what I think is most essential for you, and we'll go from there. Here is a look at what I've planned for the rest of the school year. So one chunk of work per week, and if you want to look ahead, you can do that. So this week we're working on long exposure. I wanted to make sure that we did that because we just came off of talking about bad exposure and good exposure. So I moved some stuff from actually theme 5, abstraction, up into this week because I think it will make sense here and it'll be a good thing to do here. So that's it for the syllabus. On Schoology, you'll see that for me, I've unpublished a couple things, just things that I don't think that you need anymore. I've been trying to clean it up. I will publish this assignment once I get this video that I'm recording right now in there. Here's the folder with both syllabi. And then from here on out, what I will do is just create a folder for each week and put the dates on it. And then I'm going to try to just do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So that will help you know what do I need to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. Okay, so I hope that is helpful for you. But again, always reach out to me if you need anything. I am going to hold office hours using either Zoom or Google Meet every day from 12 to 1:30. So we'll kind of get used to that. And I think I'll just, open up a video chat, and you can stop in whenever you need to at that time. And if that doesn't seem like something you're going to want to do, just send an email, send a Schoology message. All of those things will work. And those will be the times that I'll get an immediate response back to you. One thing that we need to take a look at again is these Flickr student links. So we talked about this a couple of times in class, and some of you have your links already put together, but we're still going to use this tool to put our work up online for me to look at. So if you don't have your Flickr link up on this list, make sure that you put that there, and then make sure that when I go to it, I can see your stuff. So what you will have is an album for each week. So you could label it this week, either April 13th through the 17th, because that's the dates for this week, or you could label it long exposure photos. So these are each albums from a previous student's work. Another thing that you need to know, and I'm inside that album now looking at her pictures, is when you click on each individual image, it is worth your while to roll down here and make sure this viewing privacy is set to public. If it's private, you can still see it, so you won't know the difference, but when I click on it, I won't see your work there, and I'll just think that you didn't post it. So take a look at that every time so that you know that I'm seeing everything that you want me to see. I'm going to show you in a minute what we'll be using for Flickr for this time around. All right, so let's take a look at long exposure. And here's what I want you to know about long exposure. In your camera, you have a shutter, okay? If you're using a traditional camera, this shutter opens and shuts usually pretty quickly unless you're doing a long exposure. So your shutter speed is where you will set your exposure time. So you can set an exposure time of like 1/100th of a second, or you can set it for like 30 seconds long, where the shutter opens and stays open and stays open and stays open for a very long time. That is a long exposure. Your iPhone, if you're taking pictures with your iPhone, doesn't have a traditional shutter that looks like this. Your iPhone actually has more of a sensor, and your shutter on your iPhone is always open because it needs to be able to give you that live image in your viewfinder, and it doesn't shut per se until you click on the button, and then it turns off and turns back on to capture that image. So if you're shooting with an iPhone, it doesn't look like this mechanical mechanism, but it does have the same functionality. It's just much different. Here's some examples of long exposure. So a lot of times you see these kind of very flowy, velvety, watery streams. This is a long exposure. Somebody set a camera up and they let the shutter stay open for a long time, and it captured the movement of the water, and it kind of blended it all together until it gets this really beautiful effect. Things that you need to think about when you're doing this is how much light am I letting in? If I'm leaving that shutter open, I probably need to stop down my aperture so that I don't have too much light coming in. Here's a technique that you see a lot of people do when you talk about long exposure or light painting. So this is something you can try if you want to. It's a whisk. People usually use a whisk with steel wool in it, and then they light the steel wool, and they light it on fire, and they tie the whisk to a string, and it kind of makes like this sparkler. It basically throws out sparks, and you swing the string with the whisk around, and that's how people get this effect. I did have a student do this one time before, a little bit too close to his house in his backyard, and his mom wasn't super appreciative, so make sure you're safe if you try it. This is actually Sam Nagin's image of a long exposure. It took him several summers to get this picture. So this is up at Sam's cottage up in Canada, and what he captured here in the sky is the stars and the rotation of the Earth. So I've seen previous images that Sam took trying to get this image, and he got either too much clouds or not enough time, and so it didn't look quite the way he wanted it to until maybe a few summers down the road where he got this one, and I just absolutely love this image that he got. But because he did more of this is more of like time-lapse photography and long exposure together, because basically this image is many images taken over a sequence of time stitched together, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit different technique, but I would still consider it long exposure. Here is something that I would call light painting. So if you are in more of a dark setting and your shutter is open and you have a light source and you move that light source around, you can create lines. And some people will do representational type drawings like this where you can see what it is, and sometimes it becomes more abstract. And people will create tools to capture these kind of lights. So this one I would guess is like, sometimes people take like a long board and they staple or connect different color lights down a long piece of wood, and then they use that. Or you can use anything for light painting, like glow sticks work well, Christmas lights, any kind of light up toy that you have, disco balls, anything. It's really fun to play with light painting ideas that you might have. And in this kind of situation, it's best to be in dark. So you have a long time to work with the light that you're using. If you try to do something like this in an environment that was light, too much light would be coming into your camera for a long exposure image, and you wouldn't be able to capture the lines that you're creating over the course of time and get this kind of effect. So look up light painting if this is something that you're interested in. Also, you don't have to be moving an object. You could be moving with the camera. So if I had to guess, this looks kind of like maybe a subway line or a train underground or in a tunnel. And the camera itself was moving. And because the shutter was open, it was capturing that motion. And this is more of an abstract image, but I think it's very beautiful. So there's a lot of different ways that you can play with long exposure. And one more slide. There we go. These are tripods. You may or may not have a tripod. If you don't, it's okay. If you do, it's perfect for this. You're definitely going to want to set up your camera in a place where it's not moving. It's very still. So if you have a tripod, you can see one of these is specifically made for iPhones and the other one is a more traditional setup. If you have one, perfect. If you don't have one, then you probably should set up like a table or a box or something makeshift, and photographers do makeshift things all the time to make sure that your camera is very still. If you have a remote, that's even better because then you're not even pushing the button on your camera and getting the shake from pushing the button. Okay. So that is kind of a quick introduction to long exposure. I'm going to ask you to walk through the steps in our folder. So the first thing was watching this video, okay, which will be step 1. And then the second thing, so when you're done watching this video, I want you to go and watch this video. Now these are some guys in Sri Lanka. I'm going to go over here, clicking on this icon. And they are traveling and they're taking some images of some architectural things. And he uses 3 different techniques. And it's only 7 minutes and 15 seconds. So I'd love for you to watch that just so you get some ideas, and it's pretty cool. And I think right now, since we can't travel anywhere, it's fun to see other people traveling. Okay, and then number 3, this is the assignment where I'm just giving you some notes, and this will kind of be how I structure things from here on out. So using your knowledge about exposure, explore taking photos with long exposures. Now, when you watch that video of the guy in Sri Lanka, you're going to see that he took multiple images. He was experimenting. Even though he has a lot of experience, he's still trying things, using different settings. He kind of has an idea in his mind of what he wants, but he's taking a lot of images. And you really need to do that for this. Just like when Sam was taking those pictures of the sky in Canada, he had to do it many times over the course of many years to get the image that he wanted right. So you should take at least 10 to 20 photos or more as you experiment with this technique. And then I want you to upload your 10 to 20 or more to your Flickr album and call it exposure. And then pick one of those images, the one that you think was the most successful, and I want you to upload it to our media album. And that is just so that we can have a share out for other people to see what we are all doing, okay? What will I be looking at to give you a grade? I'll be looking at the share out, and I'll be looking at your Flickr link to see that you have at least 10 to 20 images. I just want to see, what did you try? And I want to see that you explored and you took time to try different things. I'm not looking for success here. I'm looking for your exploration, and I'm looking for the fact that you are trying different things and getting different results. Okay, so I think that that is everything that I wanted to go through with you today. I apologize for the long video, but as we go forward, this will be the structure that we work under as far as breaking things down step by step. There will be a share out, and there will always be an element of you putting your images on your Flickr album. So don't forget to get that link here so that I can click on it and see all of your stuff. Make sure that your link works. Make sure that your images are public, and make sure that you're just having fun and trying different things. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use when it comes to long exposure, like we talked about. So just see which ones you really think are the most interesting, what kind of images you want to make. And I am super duper excited to see what you come up with. Please check in with me if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll be here as much as I can to help you guys along the way. All right, have a great day. Miss you all. I'll talk to you soon.